One of the most popular videos we have put out was this video on what you need to know before buying a home in Georgia. We have gotten so many comments on that video with additional questions, plus tons of emails and calls from people who are wanting to move to Georgia but have never even visited the state. Making a move from one town to another is a big enough deal, but when you are moving your entire family to a different state, you're going to face challenges and obstacles that you didn't even consider, which is exactly why we put out these videos for you, to educate you, answer questions you didn't even know you should consider before moving here to Georgia. One of the most recent questions we've received is, how early before looking at actual homes should a buyer engage with a local lender? And y'all, that is a fantastic question, and it really depends on your background. If you're self-employed, all kinds of great things that go into that. However, a really great rule of thumb is that it's never too early, but we typically suggest anywhere between 6 months to a year out. Why so early? Well, one of the things that we can check on is to make sure that your credit is where it needs to be. You would be shocked at what a tiny adjustment in your credit will do for your affordability and the interest rate that you receive. You may already have good credit, but making that good credit great credit can save you a lot of money and put it directly back into your pocket. Many times a lender can make some small suggestions that could have a big impact, and it's going to put you into a much better borrowing scenario down the road. And of course, you're going to have that time to execute those changes as they're needed. We also get asked a lot of, do I need to have a job in Georgia before I buy there? And once again, it depends. If your current job is transferring you to the area, it's going to be a lot easier for a lender to get you approved for a loan. If you don't yet have a job here, there's a couple of different ways that you can make that work. So one of the things to know is that if you have an employer that's letting you work from anywhere in the United States, well, we just simply need a letter from your employer stating that they're okay with you working in Georgia. Obviously, if they're transferring you to Georgia, like I just mentioned, that's a whole different story. But if you don't already have a job here, obviously, if you're paying cash for a home, you don't need a lender to get qualified, so that isn't an issue for you. Like I said, if you're allowed to work from home, we just simply need a letter from your employer stating that they're okay with the flexibility of having you be in Georgia and to acknowledge that everything else is still the same as far as your employment is concerned. If you do not have a job in the area that you want to relocate to, but you need to in order to get financing, well, you're going to want to start the job search process from wherever you're already living and start that interview process. Nowadays, you can do all the interviews and that kind of thing over Zoom or on the phone. So get your foot in the door, get that process started, and then come to the area to finish that interview process in person. But basically, if you're going from a W-2 job to a W-2 job, you just need a employment commitment letter from your employer stating that you have an offer of employment that you've accepted with the start date and what your salary is going to be. That way the lender can verify your employment here in Georgia. Another question that we also get is that one spouse may have a job secured here in Georgia and the other does not. Well, that's another great reason as why it's best to talk with the lender much earlier in the process. And that is so that you can find out if you even need your spouse's approval or need your spouse to be on the loan with you. Now, of course, they can still be on title with you and they can still have rights to the property, but not in every case do they actually have to be on the actual loan itself. So if you already have the job and you're only needing your income for loan approval, well then your spouse can find their job whenever they get here. When moving to Georgia, you also need to know that the real estate market is ever changing. I don't think anyone could have predicted the extreme nature of the last 2 years. And with that being said, buying a home in Georgia is not nearly as affordable as what it once was. I've made tons of videos about the cost of living in many of these towns that my team services here in North Georgia. In every true cost video I've made in the last year and a half, I've mentioned how drastically prices have increased in recent years. For example, I recently compared Alpharetta and Cumming, which are two extremely popular towns here in the metro Atlanta area. The average sales price of a house in both of these towns has increased by over $200,000 over the past couple of years. And it's not just these towns. These increases are happening everywhere. You do have to keep in mind that taxes and the overall cost of living are still lower, and still yet despite these price increases of houses, Georgia has always been a much more affordable place to live compared to many other states. So if you're interested in buying a house here north of Atlanta, you need to know that you're going to need to be able to qualify for at least $300,000 to find anything in the metro Atlanta area. Now, of course, there are options under $300,000, but they are far and few between, in really bad shape, or under contract before they're even listed, and so on. If you're interested in being south of Atlanta, you definitely have more options in the $200,000 price bracket. And if you are also looking under 300, you can go well north of Atlanta and find options, or go further away from the metro Atlanta area. If you are looking below Atlanta or any of those other areas, you can still reach out to my team. We have some great partner agents who will be able to help you, and we want to make sure that you are in excellent hands and taken care of. And again, if you're looking to move to the lower half of the state, you'll find that there are a lot more options in the $200,000 and $300,000 price range. North Georgia and South Georgia are kind of like being in two totally different worlds. And this is from someone coming from who grew up in South Georgia. But this is definitely something you need to know when you're moving to Georgia. Something else you need to know is that we don't know what the market is going to be like 1 year from now, let alone several years down the road. We have many people reach out 3 to 5 years before they are actually going to be making a move. And it's amazing that you are doing your research and preparing for that move. That's fantastic. We want to be a great resource for you. But it's always a great idea to start visiting that area way in advance to get a feel for what it would be like to live here. We love to give you a list of towns you might want to explore based on what you told us that you're looking for in an area. However, if you're trying to, base your search off of a specific price point and you're not going to be moving here for a couple of years, well, I wish I had that magic 8-ball and I cannot predict the future. But it's really hard for us to kind of predict where to point you to if you are wanting to stay within a specific price range, because as I mentioned, we had home prices that increased $200,000 just over the past 2 years in certain areas here. But what I can tell you is that what all the experts are predicting, economists, experts in the housing industry, is that home prices are not going down anytime soon. Demand might taper off a little bit over the next year or two as interest rates continue to rise, but the actual home prices, they're going to continue to appreciate. And as we, discussed, the median sales price, in most of those areas that I just referred to, $200,000 over the last 5 years. So 5 years from now, it's really hard for us to give you a great prediction of what that's going to be. We just don't know. We don't know what we don't know. So we obviously want to help you the best we can, and it's really hard for us to predict that far out into the future. So one of the biggest topics we get questions about is taxes. Now, I have made an entire video on how property taxes work in Georgia, so I would highly suggest checking that video out to get a sense for things and how they're done here in Georgia. It's important to know, though, that your property taxes are based on the assessed value of your home. And we recently had clients from California buy a home here, and they brought up the fact that no matter what your home costs in California, your property taxes are capped at 1% of the assessed value of your property under Proposition 13. In Georgia, your tax bill is taxed at an assessment rate of 40% of the fair market value. And I'll let you in on a secret. That fair market value that you see reported on your property tax bill, that is often drastically way undervalued. So that's a win for you as a homeowner. But if you're getting that property tax bill and you're looking at that assessed value and you're like, wait, this is not right. My house is worth more. I'm going to call the county and tell them, don't do it. You never want to argue for the fact that your house is worth more, because then that just increases your property taxes. Mum's the word on that. Also here in Georgia, we have exemptions such as property homestead exemption, and that is where you get a discount on your property taxes just for being a owner occupant of your home. It's going to give you a tiny little bit of a break on your property taxes. They use that based on the assessed value. There's a percentage, and then it's multiplied by a millage rate. And I know it gets really confusing, but I would most definitely recommend researching about the county you're interested in buying in and the way they do their taxes and what exemptions they allow and don't allow. One of the things that you'll be surprised about is that here in Georgia, seniors get a very, very great property tax exemption in most counties based upon your age, where they exempt you from paying the school portion of the property tax bill. It is a significant savings. anywhere between 30 to 40, sometimes 50% of your tax bill is based off of those school taxes. Another thing that you're going to want to keep in mind is that if you are living in a city limits, you're going to pay both city and county taxes. Beaufort City is a great example. If you're wanting to go to Beaufort City schools, just know that you're paying Beaufort City taxes and county taxes. Now, each county does things a little bit different, but you can find a full breakdown of each county's tax system online. And because this is not capped in Georgia, your property taxes will likely increase every single year. You can challenge these property tax bills though, and there is some good measure in doing that, but just know that your property taxes are going to fluctuate from year to year. If these do go up drastically, you're definitely going to see an increase in your monthly mortgage payments if you have that property tax bill escrowed into your mortgage payments. If you're already living paycheck to paycheck, this mortgage payment is at the top of your budget, then the increase in taxes might just kind of push you over the edge and make living in your home no longer affordable. So that is something that you want to factor into whenever you're looking at properties here in Georgia. Another question we get asked a lot is, what is the annual average cost of property taxes in Georgia? And again, this depends on the price of the home you're interested in. If you're looking at $1 million home, you can't compare a $300,000 house, obviously, because it's, based upon the fair market value of your home. For example, this $3.9 million house shows that the taxes are currently $20,000 annually, while this $236,000 house you can expect to pay about $1,500 a year. If you are looking for houses on Zillow, it will show you what the previous year's tax bill was. Now, obviously this can be wrong, so don't shoot the messenger, but you do have resources and things at your disposal where you can actually look up the previous year's tax bills for any homeowner in Georgia. That is public information. Typically Zillow is pulling that in. However, you see like really low property taxes for a home and you think that can't be right. I bet you almost 100% that homeowner is qualifying for the senior property tax exemption. You as a homeowner will get that benefit for that first year that you buy the home, and then it's going to be bumped back up to what you as the current homeowner would have to pay. One thing that you're going to want to take a note is that tax bills come out at the end of the year, usually around October or November, so you'll pay for the whole year at one time. If you buy a new home, the year's tax bill is already collected from you and held in your escrow account whenever you close, so that is already handled for you whenever you buy a new house, so long as you are financing with an escrow account. Now, there are two different ways for you to pay your tax bills. Typically, your lender is going to calculate what they believe the cost of the property taxes are for the year, and then they're going to divide that by 12 and add it into your mortgage payment each month. Since this is charged to you a little bit each month and your lender pays for the taxes right out of that escrow account, you don't have to worry about sitting down towards the end of the year and actually writing out that check to the county. This is preferred by lenders, and if you're putting down anything less than 20%, they are going to require you to have this escrow account. But it is preferred by lenders because that way they know for certain that the tax bills have been paid and there's not going to be a lien placed against your house. Another option would be to pay it directly to the local tax assessor, and this is going to be your option if you've paid for the house outright and you don't have a monthly mortgage payment. Okay, that is enough about taxes. What else do you need to know before buying a house in Georgia? Someone recently asked about how sewer and water is billed here. She said that where she lives in New Jersey, they get a sewer bill every 6 months and the water bill comes quarterly. That's interesting. Here in Georgia, and at least in the counties that we serve, you are going to pay a monthly water bill, and in most counties, your sewage bill is paid by your taxes. Sometimes you will have a sewer and water bill get billed together. And you've probably heard me mention this before, that many homes in Georgia are on a septic tank instead of having public sewer access. And this is true for most homes that are on half of an acre or larger. So if the home you buy is on a septic tank, you're obviously not going to have sewer fees. A family of 4 can anticipate a monthly water bill of around $40 a month. In the summer, if your kids are playing in the house or you've got watering your grass more, kids are playing out in the yard in the water hose, you might see that go up around $50, but water here is pretty dang affordable. We've also noticed that many people who do not have a previous experience owning a home with a septic tank think that it's going to have massive maintenance fees and that you're going to want to avoid a home with a septic tank at all costs. I have to tell you that can be further from the truth. So The recommended maintenance on a septic tank is to have it pumped every 3 to 5 years, and that's going to cost you around $300 to $500 each time you have that done. And that's going to keep your system in great working order and avoid any major costly repairs. People automatically assume that septic tanks come with a ton of additional expenses further down the road, and that couldn't be further from the truth. If you maintain it properly, you have it pumped out regularly, you are going to be just fine. I could go on and on about all the important things you need to know when you're buying a home in Georgia, which is the reason I made this channel in the first place. But if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below or send us an email. You can also find our contact information in the description of all of our videos. And of course, if you're thinking about making a move, you have to reach out to our team. We are so excited to help people from all across the country make the move and relocate here to Georgia. In the meantime, if you did not catch part 1 of this video that we made way back, make sure you check that out.